I may be paraphrasing, but there's a nice quote from The Last Samurai. Too many fuck. No fuck.
Good call.
Welcome back, everyone.
Hello.
It's your boy, Sam. So we've got Alex back for this particular episode. So welcome back, Alex.
It's been a week and glad to be here again.
You sat in that seat for a week, haven't moved.
Yep. Haven't showered or anything, so thanks for having me back.
Still looking quite good.
Well, with this episode, we know you as a character who particularly doesn't really give a shit
Thank you.
with a lot of things.
Thank you very much.
And
Properly said, like as in a person who is like, you're quite focused in your own lane. Like you're not quite bothered about what other people are doing or what they think about you or like that kind of thing. Like you're very comfortable in your own shoes and you're comfortable doing your own thing. So that's why we thought that this topic might be really good to discuss with you, and it's just how not to take things personally.
Yeah, so I guess that's something that I didn't always have that characteristic throughout my life. I think we were saying off camera that, it is pretty common for early stages of life where, external feedback from even from your family or, your close friends, if they say something negative about you to you, you can take that the wrong way or, you can let that affect you. And I can say that, in my early stages of life, that was true. I wasn't always the way I am now, where if you're legitimate in how you say things, if you're trying to, say something negative, I can probably see straight through that. I'm comfortable in my own skin where I can say, that's great. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But if they do have like valid, genuine, like constructive criticism, I can take that on board. I can see past like that negative aspect, and I can see, hey, I may actually need to work on, said criticism and, to actually better myself. So I think throughout time, you do learn to see past just the negative, because I can see like other people may take that and they can only focus on the negative. And if they're not focusing on how to better themselves, that's not going to help you. So I tried to see past that.
yeah, because I can see that the way you handle feedback just in general, it's you do it really well. You do it like you just
Very chill.
Yeah, you chill about it. You have no real reaction towards it. And you briefly touched this in the previous episode where throughout your journey, specifically at 8-Ball, that was a massive learning curve for you. So as you were learning and getting feedback from your mentor at the time, you were able to basically take that on board and apply that to you now in your own individual capacity as well as within your career growth as well.
Yeah, I think like another byproduct of having that attitude of always wanting to learn and not getting too stuck on the negative is you're going to, it allows you to build your network a lot. And like if you're getting stuck on getting offended, focusing on these negative things, you might find that you're cutting a lot of like relationships or cutting ties with a lot of people. And I'm not doing this to be liked in any way, but not being offended and building that relationship with a lot of people, that goes back to the whole networking side of things where people like and trust you. So if someone has a valid point in saying, hey, even though you may have fucked up doing, X activity, you may want to think about doing it this way. If I was to just get offended and say, man, this guy, he's an idiot, and just cut ties with him, like that's not going to help me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So being open-minded and not having that like butthurt feeling about everything, not only is it going to, allow you to learn, but also, keep relationships with people. And that's a life lesson in itself. And that holds a lot of value.
Yeah.
So,
and I think as you mature as well, like you were saying, you start to pick up on cues or body language to tell who's being genuine or who's actually just, giving you shit, and who's actually just trying to bring you down. And also knowing yourself to be comfortable to just, be comfortable being yourself, so you don't let anyone else's negative comments or feedback affect you.
Yeah. I think one of the main things that I keep in the back of my mind is, what's the intent of that person? So even if, like, the way that they're delivering feedback, if they're rough around the edges, they're swearing, they may even call you a dickhead or whatever. If you can see past that and see genuinely that's their way of them trying to give you like actual feedback for, whatever you were doing.
Constructive feedback.
Constructive criticism, feedback, whatever you want to call it. But if you can see they're genuinely trying to give you some advice, I can look past all of, whatever insults they give me or, whatever it is. Seeing past that, I think, is a valuable thing for yourself.
Yeah.
For instance, like I've had a lot of workmates, like, above me, they are rough around the edges. They swear, they have like rough language. A lot of other workmates might not like them. They say, oh, X person is very unprofessional. He shouldn't be talking like that. But for me, all of that stuff doesn't matter. Like, he is genuinely trying to help me learn. And the way he does it is a little bit edgy. He might offend some people. But for me, it's just like I look past that and I can see the lessons that he's trying to teach. And I literally didn't have a problem with him. I had zero like encounters of me saying, oh man, this guy's like, he's questionable. Like, I literally saw all past that until like, some other workmates kind of brought it up and, started complaining and whatnot. So that was a little bit eye-opening.
Yeah, of course.
And that was kind of a little bit unexpected because that's just the way I am.
Unexpected as in you didn't see him for being a rude person?
Yeah, I mean, like, you can see that, he has rough language, but that was it for me. It was just like, that's just the way he talks.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean, because for me, I think even if someone was really rude in the way that they talk or swore a lot or something, or they were a bit rough, it comes down to the personality, like the gestures of what they do with other things. Like, are they still being helpful? Or like, and then you see all that and you're like, oh, that's just how they talk. But behind the scenes, they're actually really like helpful, really genuine person.
I think it's hard initially, especially when you just meet that person and they give you that kind of feedback in terms of how they act and treat you. It's hard to overcome that initial interpretation because you don't know that person, you don't know the personality, you don't know how they talk. So initially it's like, oh shit, he's a bit rude, or it's confrontational, or it's disrespectful.
But I think that still comes back to being open, because you're open to be like, okay, let's just see how this person is first. Don't just go to assumptions and be like, nah, he's rude, I'm not going to talk to him. 100%.
But I mean, for everyone interprets things differently, right?
Yeah.
So the initial communication piece, it's like, he's got me by randomness because he's talking to you like fucking shit, you know what I mean? So I can see where your workmates were like, hang on, this guy's a bit rude. But if you see behind the lines of who he is truly as a person.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's not saying such things like, you're a fucking idiot, like, you're fucking up. Like, just the words that he's saying, like, people can take it the wrong way. But I saw straight past that. And he wasn't being, I mean, you could say he's being disrespectful, but to me, it's just like, just language.
Was there ever a moment where someone gave you feedback in that same manner or similar manner where you're like, hang on, fuck's this guy smoking?
I haven't really been haven't really had that experience where I've had like a rude boss or rude supervisor where he's like legitimately trying to put you down. So I guess I'm lucky in that sense, but just with this new gig, I don't want to name names, but he, like, in my eyes, he's been super helpful. Like, I've only been there for 3 weeks, and he's helped me learn, all of these different things. Like, he understands that I'm completely green to the whole industry. He's recommended me things to read up on, X reports, and, he's given me a whole bunch of resources to help me learn, which is,
that's good. Yeah.
It's very good. He's helped me, tremendously in these past weeks. So it's definitely different to what you learn in uni. Obviously, you can learn a lot of theory stuff, but in practice, it's
totally different, right?
Legitimately different, like way different.
Is that the same rough guy that we're talking about?
Same rough guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like you can argue that he's kind of disrespectful to some other people, but at least I can see his intent. He doesn't actually want to bring people down.
He's a bit more honest, like
Yeah,
very
it's
straightforward.
like he's quite blunt. Like
Yep.
he knows that, but he's not disrespectful.
Yeah.
At least in my eyes.
Yep.
I've definitely encountered a number of people in my career growth
Mm.
where directly they wouldn't talk to you, demean you, or just be disrespectful, but behind the scenes they'll belittle you through other means by talking behind your back and that sort of stuff. And I've also met people who would belittle you directly in your face.
Yeah.
And depending on you as a person, but you understanding who that person is as a character, it is very difficult to not give a shit, because initially your interpretation of that person is, hey, this guy's being a cockhead, because you're not used to that person, right? And I think there's got to be a level of professionalism at the same time,
Yeah.
right? Because it is a professional setting.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
at work. So there should be some level where you guys communicate.
Like a level of respect
Yeah.
for each other.
100%. Like
Yeah.
you, like I don't know you. I wouldn't be like, oh, fuckhead, go do this, or oh,
Yeah,
you're a
yeah.
piece of shit.
Why
You know
didn't
what I
you
mean?
pick that up or something?
Yeah. Like that kind of stuff. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I think there's got to be an understanding where it's got to be, hey, this is a professional setting. We should be communicating in this level
Yeah.
of standards.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't really faced or experienced that like firsthand. I mean, the closest thing was, because everything we do is like shared documents. So, we have one central point where, it's basically document control. There was one instance where I said, I emailed Allmate, a spreadsheet. And then there was an assumption that it was an offline document. And he's like, what the fuck do you do that for? Whatever word. And to me, it was just bounce right off. Like,
Ping pong ball.
yeah, I wasn't offended or anything. And I
Yeah.
said, no, like I emailed him the shared document link. And then he's like, oh, all right, I'll take that back. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Like, even if like he didn't take that back, it was just like nothing.
Yeah, you didn't think of it much.
Like what's that going to do to me? Like,
yeah.
I know I did the right thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, were you always like that, or has that one aspect that also changed when you said that younger you did kind of care? Is that
Yeah,
something that
I think
changed?
like throughout high school, I didn't really come across anything in primary school, but I think in high school where, possibly even teachers or, schoolmates might bring you down. That's just like a natural thing that, teenagers do, call you a dickhead or whatever. I think that, had some effect on me. I was never a person that was always really down on myself, but I think probably listening to a lot of like, wouldn't say like necessarily motivational speakers or whatever, but a lot of people that talk about self-value and also how to better yourself. I think that's where I kind of started to understand, hey, sometimes the words of other people, they might want to bring you down. And why would you want to spend energy on that person if they're not trying to better you? Like, you don't need to spend energy on them. Like, there's a whole plethora of other people that are in your network that can lift you up. So why are you trying to focus on these people when they're only trying to bring you down? I think that it also starts with being comfortable in your own skin. It might sound corny. If you're able to love yourself and you're comfortable in your own skin, all of these negative feedbacks, they're not going to affect you. But if you're not like in that stage where, you're confident in yourself, you're always going to listen to that person that says, hey, you're not it,
Yeah.
So it starts with you being comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
You have to have that mindset of, hey, they might want to bring me down, but they also have like a valid point in, you made a mistake here, you can do something better. So I think the mindset that I have is, don't focus on the negative, because what's that going to offer you in life? Like, if you're focusing on the negative, that's just wasting your time, essentially. There's always going to be a life lesson in mistakes and negative feedback. How can you better yourself? What can you do better next time? So if you focus on that, I think that is what's going to allow you to not only be able to receive those types of words or feedback, but yeah, you'll be able to move forward, you'll be able to learn and not let these things affect you.
Yeah, that's really good. Was there anything in particular that got you into listening to those motivational speakers?
Honestly, it wasn't anything that I was out looking for. It was just like me just scrolling on my phone. You know, you see these types of things, you know, like I think it was Instagram or maybe even
Probably Instagram.
Yeah, probably Instagram. Instagram has, you know, the algorithms. Fucking once you like something, you're just on that trail forever. You get into these types of things. I think it's like, you know, you get those snippets of podcasts of, you know, Joe Rogan and all these big famous podcasts speaking to all of these people. So it wasn't like I was out looking for it. It was just, I just so happened to scroll and, you know, caught my eye. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a valuable thing to take on board. And yeah, like it's definitely a lot that you take on board and it teaches you a lot. And I think, like I said, it changes your outlook on how people talk to you or how you perceive that. And that kind of translates into a lot of things.
Yeah, I think it does too.
When was the first moment that you applied that though? Because you obviously were scrolling through Instagram as an example, right? And you stumbled across a motivational post. And at that point you go, fuck, okay, I realize that I should value myself higher than what I currently do. At what point did you actually apply that? Because I think there's a difference with seeing how things should be applied to actually doing it yourself.
I can't think of an exact point, but like talking about examples, like when I first started at 8Ball, I fucked up a lot. Like you could probably, you probably hear a lot of stories like, like fucking Alex, he fucking, you know, did this, he lost this account or whatever. And those early years, like I didn't take that feedback like the way I would now. Like I was just like, fuck man, I'm a total fuck up. Like fuck, I keep fucking up these things. But at the same time, I wasn't learning from them. I mean, I could obviously recognize that I was messing up, but in terms of how I can better myself, I wasn't taking that on board. So I can see like a difference between being able to learn and not learn. I don't know if that necessarily makes sense, but yeah, those first early years of 8Ball, I messed up a lot.
Was it because you weren't really actioning on like the mistakes that you made and you kind of just let it slide?
It's not necessarily that. It's probably like a step back, like recognizing the exact things. I mean, I could see that I was fucking up, but I didn't know what to do to
fix it,
correct those mistakes.
And you had like more negative talk to yourself as well?
Yeah, it's just like I was focusing on you fucked up.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I was taking on board.
Yeah.
Just like, why are you doing this? I'm like, oh man, I was really down on myself and I wasn't thinking whole picture where, you know, I'm able to correct those wrongs so I don't make that mistake again. So that's definitely a difference between first experience at 8Ball and at the tail end.
But for clarification's sake, when feedback was given to you, that feedback was, hey, you're doing this wrong, but you need to do it this way for you to fix it? Or that was never...
I mean, it wasn't laid out perfectly. It was just like, at least from what I remember, it was just, you messed up.
Yeah, okay.
But that was the loudest message out of everything, out of all the feedback.
Yeah,
You're
I mean, I don't know if I have selective memory, but that's what I remember.
Yeah.
So I may have been told, you know, this is what you could have done, but I think it just may have gotten filtered out in my own little subconscious.
And then over time, like when you saw more and more of these motivational either like quotes or speeches, you started to kind of think about it a bit more.
Self-value yourself, and also it changes your outlook. Like, yeah, you may have messed up, but there's a lesson in that.
Yeah.
There's it sounds corny, but there's only wins and lessons. There's no losses.
Yeah. Of course, that's how I see things too.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, you may have lost on paper, but there's a lesson in that.
And I also say that people who makes the most mistakes are the people who learn the most, because the people who are afraid to make mistakes or don't even make any, they don't learn anything because they haven't tried at all. Yeah. Whereas like you've tried, you've made the mistakes and you made heaps of mistakes, but now like, you know, you're here where you are now. Yeah.
And if you have that mindset of wins and lessons, obviously you don't want to just go, oh, that's another lesson, another lesson.
Yeah, you need to do something.
You need to have that drive to actually want to win.
Yeah.
Or have success.
Something about it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I think there are people out there who make a lot of mistakes, but aren't proactive in applying those mistakes to, you know, how they can improve themselves. Because there's a balance, right? There's a balance where, yeah, you can make a lot of mistakes, And those mistakes are good because those are life experiences where you can apply that to yourself and correct yourself. But there's another side to it where you fuck up all the time, and the reason of why you're fucking up is because you're not taking it serious where you can apply that to yourself. And I think you can see that, like for me, as an example, like I used to run a team of 10, right? And you can see a clear definition or split between good characters and characters who don't necessarily apply themselves. So, as you said, making mistakes is a crucial point in your life, whether it's career or individual, whatever it is, that you can actually apply and learn from those mistakes.
Yeah. Were there any certain moments in life where you did actually take something really personally and then you were kind of like, oh, maybe I took it too personally?
I don't necessarily think there was like specific moments.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be about work. It could be like a friend said one thing and you like took it really personally and then afterwards you're like, oh, I dwelled on that a bit too much.
Nothing really comes to mind, but there's definitely moments. It's probably more in like the work sense.
Yeah.
Because with friends.
It's friends, yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's just literally like deflectocito, cuz.
See you later, fella.
Yeah, whatever, G. Yeah, but like probably because, work is more important in terms of like
the feedback.
Life.
Yeah.
Is there anything opposite? So say something happened and your reaction was like, oh, whatever. But later on you hang on, maybe I should have taken that seriously or something like that.
I mean, reflecting now, like all of those mistakes, you're just like, shit, man, I had a very bad outlook on that. I didn't learn anything back then.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, moving forward, you can, or at least for me, I can start to see the lessons in these things. Just like, even if it's like a minor mistake or I could have done things better, I can see those things now. But maybe in like a personal sense where I haven't been as sensitive to other people's boundary, or not, I shouldn't say boundaries, but
just rock up at people's doors at 2 a.m.
mother suckers, I'm here. Nah, but like I haven't been as considerate to other people because, just for myself, I'm pretty easygoing and whatnot. But sometimes I find that I may have offended someone because I haven't really been exposed to someone that thinks a little bit differently to what I am. So I think me being so whatever, I kind of assume that everyone else is like that.
Yeah.
But, there have been some times where, I may have said something and someone else may not think the same way and they get a little bit upset. That's going to be a little bit eye-opening for me.
Yep. So with those moments, how did you find out that person was upset? Did they tell you directly?
They straight up told me direct. And then there's been some times, I don't want to get too far into detail with my partner, Anita.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
And, it's been good because she clearly communicates.
That's good, yeah.
You messed up. And I'm not going to get offended by that because I know, hey, man, I've affected someone's feelings. I should be a little bit more considerate. They might not think the exact same way I do.
Yeah.
Even though I don't necessarily agree with that, like I wouldn't get offended. Like, why would you get offended? Like, you have to be respectful.
And look, I resonate with that.
Before.
Yeah, I resonate with that because I'm similar to you, man, in the fact that I don't really care. Not that I don't care, but certain actions or words don't affect me.
Yes.
So I make the assumption that, hey, because I'm talking to someone like her, for an example, I would say that stuff to her and she would take offense to it. And I don't realize that because to me, I'm like, well, why would you take that serious? Because it's not serious. But you don't realize that other people take it serious.
Yeah. But I'm also similar. Like I would say I'm a lot more on the chill side, but like you might have realized I don't hang out with a lot of females because not saying that there's anything bad with it, but they are a little bit more on the sensitive side. And sometimes I do say things like, I'm just so whatever. I say whatever I want to say, like obviously with consideration. I know. And then there has been times where girls are like, oh, why would you say that? Or like, why did you say that to me? Blah, blah, blah. And in my head, I'm like, I'm just saying what I feel, what I think.
Just being me, man.
Yeah. And then like it happened a few times. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't say that. But then like talking to like you or like other guy friends, they're like, whatever. I'm like, so I don't understand. So I had to learn a bit of that, the gauge of how to talk to females as opposed to males and things like that too.
Yeah, I guess, The other side of things is even though you might not give a fuck, other people
Will give a fuck.
They do give a fuck.
Yeah, you have to learn to think in the other person's shoes.
I mean, that goes case by case.
Oh, yeah,
I guess it
100%.
comes just by experience and learning, their boundaries of that's okay and that's fucked up.
Yeah. Usually fucked up.
Yeah.
But we'll get into a few so Mark Manson, he's this guy who wrote this book. I think it's like subtle tips on how not to give a
Not
fuck.
to give a fuck, yeah.
There's 2 tips in there specifically that kind of resonated to us. So we want to discuss it. The first one was your one.
Yeah, so that first one is just not giving a fuck.
And being comfortable of being different.
Yeah, so that resonated a lot with me because I'm very much a person where I don't give a fuck because I know my lane and I know who I am.
Yes.
So whatever.
And you're comfortable being you.
And I'm comfortable being myself, right? Comfortable being in my own skin. So with others.
Oh, wait, actually, that's my one.
But it resonates with me too because
Yeah.
it's just like, well, I'm me. I'm just doing me. I'm talking to you as if you were to talk to me. Like I'm respectful in that regard, but I can treat you openly. Why should I care?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll just read the line again. It says, not giving a fuck does not mean being indifferent. It means being comfortable in being different. And why I said I resonated with this is because I would say me 10 years ago, because a lot of the times I find that if someone a group gave an opinion and they're like, oh, I feel like this, or I feel like this is what I would choose. A lot of the times I'm the person or the one odd one is like, oh, no, I kind of feel like this one. And I would stay completely quiet because I'll let everyone pick. And then I realize I'm the odd one out and I'll stay quiet. But now I've realized that just because I have a different opinion or feeling or a different preference, I don't feel the need that I need to stay quiet. Like I can still make my opinion, but it wouldn't offend anyone. It's just that's how I feel. Like say everyone likes white chocolate, I like dark chocolate. It's just like a preference. So.
Yeah. And just on that, white chocolate is trash. Dark chocolate is the way.
Agreed.
I'm not trying to yuck your yum, as they say, but it definitely sucks.
I disagree. I like white.
Oh,
Suckers.
So he's the odd one out. Indifferent.
But the life lesson is he doesn't give a
So fuck your choices.
Yeah, so that's what I've learned over time is be okay with voicing what you feel.
Yeah, and then like social pressure, I think that's something that I've learned to become a little more comfortable in my own skin, not just like other people's opinions, but that social pressure of you have to have these different milestones by this age.
Yeah.
A big thing was like, turning 30, you should have your shit together, you should have a house, you should be married, fucking having kids. In that sense, I've always been okay with it in saying it's going to happen when it happens. Obviously, you don't want to just sit in the fucking backseat and do nothing and then hope everything works out. But in the sense where a lot of these, social pressures, whether it's coming from family or friends, like, oh, are you married yet?
Yeah.
You're going to have kids? That shit just fucking bounces off.
More ping pong balls.
You fucking worry about your own shit, man.
Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm on my own path and I'm fine with it. I may be a little bit late in terms of buying a property, but I'm on my way. Shit's happening in the background. It'll happen when it happens.
Yeah, you bring up a really important thing. A lot of people base their milestones on age.
Yes.
That's social stigma too. And that's what annoys me. It's like, you hear a lot of people say, when you're fucking 24, you should have a kid or you should be married or you should have a clear goal or a pathway for your career growth. And it's like, well, hang on, everyone's life is different. Their pathway is, like you said, it's all different.
Yes.
Yeah, you could base it as a template, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, like a rough guideline.
But realistically, everyone's life is different. You can't paint that picture exactly to that T. And exactly like you said, you're as long as you have a goal and as long as you're working your way towards that, that's what's most important for you.
Yeah, because if you put too much value in, whatever milestone it is, like, having a full-time job by the age of X, if you don't hit that, you're going to fucking feel like a failure. You're going to be like, oh, why am I not hitting these particular goals or, whatever it is. You're going to find that you're going to be down on yourself.
That's also the same as the saying, like the higher expectations you have either for yourself or for other things, the more disappointed you get because you don't, either it didn't meet the expectations or the outcome was different and you were so set on this one expectation, then you get disappointed. Whereas if you are open-minded and okay with how this journey turns out or how you get like on this path, like it's fine. Like you have no expectations, but as long as you have that goal, that's fine.
Yeah, like you said, having a particular goal in mind, obviously it's good to have. You don't necessarily have to follow exactly what everyone is expecting of you.
Yeah.
As long as you are working towards those goals, you're doing the best that you can. Because there's a number of factors that go into life.
Yeah.
Whether it's, family situation or whatever, education, and, all of these different things that everyone's different in.
Yep.
So that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be married, have a house, have kids by the age of fucking 25. Because, your parents may have done that, like 40 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But
life is different back then.
Life is very different. Like my parents, they bought a house, 35 odd years ago for like 50 grand.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
And look, it comes to the income as well.
Yeah.
Income was different. Opportunities were different. So comparing it to that generation, oh yeah, fucking nowhere near.
Yeah, I mean, like if we had house prices of that, like I'm fucking sweet ass. I'm like, I'd be fucking multiple house owners.
Yeah.
But I think the most important part to this conversation is as long as you're comfortable with yourself and your own skin.
And you understand where you are in your current point in life and like just where you need to be. I think that's the main thing.
Because I know where I want to be. I do want those things. Obviously, if I had the opportunity to have those things earlier, yeah, great. But I don't necessarily put weight on, hey, I should have had that 3 years ago. Like, what's that going to do to me? If I'm stuck on that, like I should have had that.
Yeah.
That doesn't serve me at all.
So the second Mark Manson quote, it was, "We all have a limited number of fucks to give. Pay attention to where and who you give them to."
Yeah.
So that was the one that
out
you...
of fucks to give.
Yeah. That was the massive resonation to me.
Why?
I resonate to that a lot because you can only give so much energy. And you mentioned this in the previous episode.
Yeah.
Is giving enough energy in certain areas that's most important to you. So if you give a fuck in different areas, you're just going to fucking deplete yourself.
Yes.
For me, my character is pretty much, I don't give a fuck about most things and all I care about is myself, not making it sound like I'm selfish and whatnot, but it's like focusing on areas that I need to focus on for me.
Yeah. I may be paraphrasing, but there's a nice quote from The Last Samurai. Too many fuck. No fuck.
Good call.
Oh shit! But that's true though.
Yeah.
Like when you actually put it, like actually make it realistic and apply that to real life, it actually makes sense.
Yeah, but I think it's also, if you care about what other people think or what they're saying, like all your energy has been in everyone's thoughts or opinions on you, you don't even have time to actually reflect on what you actually need to do because you're like, oh, this person said that or this person said this about me and now I feel like this, blah, blah, blah. But how do you truly feel and where do you actually truly want to go? Like it's more valuable if you focus on that as opposed to what people are like saying about you.
Yeah. And I think you do this really well.
Thank
you resonate this fucking hard because just knowing you as a person, like from where you came from, like when I first met you till now, you've pretty much followed that of, you limit how much you give a fuck about certain things. And I think that's why with this particular quote, if you want to call it that, it really resonates with you very, very strongly.
I think like another sort of interpretation is like valuing friendships as well. Because you're not going to have equal friendships with everyone you know.
Yep.
You're going to have some people that, you may hang out with once every couple of years. It's good to see them, but you're not super close. But you also have your tight-knit group where, you're going to value their opinions a lot more. So when these sorts of people that, you don't put a lot of stock in, they may talk shit about you, but at least in my eyes, I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like if they're not going to invest time with you and you see that you're putting a lot more effort into this friendship than they are, they're not reciprocating.
Yep.
That's something that, you know, you don't necessarily want to be a part of. Obviously, I'm not trying to cut ties with people, but I've learned to not invest all of my time with someone that's not willing to do the same thing.
And you've learnt this because you've done this before. You've invested.
I've seen it. Yeah. So I've always been the one that organizes events, gets people together saying, hey, you want to do this? Let's do that. And then I take a step back and I see, why am I the one that's doing it every single time for the past few years? I've never been invited to that person's party, or they never invite me. Then I start to see, you know, maybe it's not in my best interest to always put so much effort out. I'm not saying that I'm not friends with you anymore, but I know that's probably not super valuable to me. I can invest my time with someone who's willing to reciprocate.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying, yeah, look, F that guy or whatever, but it's just like
how to value yourself a bit more.
Yeah.
Look
I mean,
after
like
yourself.
with life, you're limited with time. So you want to spend the time with the most valuable people in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're spending a lot of time with someone that's, you know, that doesn't value you in the same way, like what's happening there?
Yeah, yeah. I resonate with that too. What you just mentioned, we discussed this in a previous episode about friendships, and I resonate hard with that because I was similar to you, where I would put in a lot of effort to help my friends, whether it be career, individual growth, or just random shit. And I was exactly that, where I noticed that, you know, why is it me that's putting so much effort into it? Why don't they do that for me too? And that's when you realize, okay, certain people where you can be more, like you spend more energy with them, you invest more time with them. But then there's certain people where I won't say I don't give a fuck or I don't like you or anything like that. It's more like, okay, you can stay over there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to chill with these.
Yeah. Because like as you get older, more responsibilities, obviously you're getting a full-time job, you're getting life partners and whatnot. You don't have a lot of time to just fuck around
100%,
hang out. So you start to see time is valuable.
Yeah.
And you don't want to fucking waste it with
and you
all
want
these
those
shit kickers.
Yeah,
you know
and
what I mean?
you want the good experiences in life too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You want to have good times, good memories with people that can
lift you up.
Yeah, lift you, but share the same, you know, experiences and values. So I really do. That hits the home for me.
That's a fucking home run, mate.
Well, we'll finish it off with your top 3 tips. It's mainly around if you were to fall a little bit on that negative side, if someone gave you feedback and you're like, oh shit, yeah, maybe I'm a bad person or I didn't do good. What's something that you remind yourself with to kind of not take things too personally?
Top 3 things. Honestly, I haven't really thought about it too much, but with what we've talked about today, obviously you need to be comfortable in your own skin. Don't let negative feedback get you down. Don't get stuck on it. So once you start to realize your own value, that's when, you know, you find yourself not dwelling on things. And I guess point number 2 is be open to feedback. Obviously, I'm not saying, you know, shut yourself off from any feedback. You're the king of the world. You're top shit, because that just makes you a dickhead. And you're not going to grow as a person.
Yeah.
So be willing to actually accept feedback is number 2. And then number 3 is value your time. Like we were just saying, because you don't have unlimited time in life.
Yeah.
And as you grow older, you start to see time is valuable. And I'm seeing that now more than ever with this FIFO job. We haven't really talked about it in this episode, but I'm doing like a 10 days on, 4 days off. So 10 days working, I'm doing, you know, 5:30 to 6 o'clock. Not 30 minutes, but 12 and a half hours.
That's a good shift.
Yeah, it's a solid
shift.
knock.
Yeah.
But then, you know, by the time you get home, you may cook, you got to eat, wash up, and you've probably got a few minutes before you're in bed.
Yeah.
So with that time to yourself, what are you going to do? You're going to spend that time with old mate from fucking 10 years ago who doesn't give a fuck about you? Or you want to spend time with the people that you value the most? Even with the 4 days off, like those 4 days are like almost gold now.
Yeah.
You know? So that's given me a different outlook on life. where, you know, I really have to maximize that time with the people I want to the most.
Yeah.
Not only that, but also myself.
Yeah.
Like with that time, we were speaking off camera about going to the gym. Because I'm limited on time, I want to maximize every freaking minute of those days. So going back to the lesson is value your time, and, you know, really think about what you want to spend your time with.
Yeah.
Because with that, like if you want to spend time with tire kickers, as I would put them,
Shit kickers,
fucking, you know, people that aren't going to lift you up, like it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
So those, in conclusion, that's my presentation on my top 3 tips on how to not give a fuck. And yeah, it's going to serve you a lot better if you follow those 3 rules. You can learn about it in my upcoming book, publishing in the next 20 years. You can find it on, I don't fucking know yet, but
Hashtag.
that's it.
No, I think those are solid tips. I think even if I were to chime in, very, very similar. I think that, but the difference from my perspective is knowing yourself.
Knowing yourself,
is
yes.
number one. And that takes time. That's all about experience. That's just your mistakes that you make. And from those mistakes, you learn from those mistakes, right?
I guess another outlook is understand, so to speak, losses or failures, I should say. Failures is probably a better word.
Yeah.
Be open to that and understand that they're not failures. They're
life lessons. Yeah.
So if you have that mindset of how can I be better, that helps you not dwell on the past, and you'll find that your mindset changes a lot. Going back to, you know, early stages of work career, I was honestly down in the dumps. Like, why am I fucking up so much? I wasn't seeing the actual lessons in those experiences. But then once I started to, you know, self-analyze and self-reflect, you know, I was able to see that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I have seen people that do self-reflect and they literally focus on the negatives and nothing else. You shouldn't really be reflecting multiple times on one action. You should be reflecting, analyze, see what you could have done better, and move on.
Don't dwell on the negatives.
Don't dwell on it. Regrets. I don't like to think about life regrets.
No
like,
regrets.
Oh, I should have done that better. Oh, yeah, I should have. Like, oh, man, that thing, I should have done better. Obviously, yeah, you can do better, but what's that going to give you if you keep thinking about that one thing?
Yeah.
Like, literally, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah. I think my tip would be, it's like, it is self-reflecting, like what you were saying, but it's more like if someone gives you feedback, know how to deconstruct that feedback. So like, what can I take away from this, and what's the action you can do to like
Improve
for your
it.
next step to improve it. Like someone could give you a whole bunch of feedback, and like part of it is like, oh, you're not doing a good job, but why aren't you doing a good job? And then they give you that tip in that part. So I kind of deconstruct and be like, okay, this is the part that where the core of the problem is, and then that's the core of the problem, and then how can I implement something different next time to do that better? So that's what I would say is, if someone is to give you feedback, deconstruct it. That's my sort of reflecting, and then deconstruct it and then tweak your strategy for the next time you're going to do this job, or next time how you're going to say something to someone, and then that's how you move forward. And you never go back and be like, oh, I didn't do this good enough, but it's like, yeah, you didn't do this good enough, but what can you do now to make it better?
Hashtag fuck the haters. Love yourself and fucking live your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is make mistakes, because those mistakes are life lessons.
Yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You need it.
You
'cause
need to make the
without
mistake to learn.
Yeah, don't just fucking make mistakes for the sake of making mistakes, but when they do happen, like,
know why you made the
take a
mistake.
lesson out of that.
Yeah.
100%.
And with that, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about Mario Kart? I saw Mario Kart in the notes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's a little.
Well,
like,
in the
episode.
notes, I was gonna say you don't take things personally, and you're not a very competitive person unless it's Mario Kart.
Like, when it comes to games, I'm a fucking competitive person.
Dude, you're like
inside, I want to win everything.
Yeah, on those little like buttons. I feel sorry for the buttons going like, ah. But yeah, that was the Mario Kart note.
RuneScape,
nice.
mate.
I'm still rocking the RuneScape.
No.
For all of you RuneScape players,
What's your IGN? What's your in-game name?
my
ID?
in-game name is Bum Bum. No space.
Is it actually?
It is.
Oh,
The story behind that, we're going a little bit off topic here. Like the game RuneScape, they did what's called like a name nuke. So all of these inactive accounts that haven't been played for 5 years or whatever it was, they basically stripped their names.
Yeah.
So knowing that, because names are kind of like a valuable commodity, like once you lock it in, that's yours. And then if someone wants your name, they can buy it off you.
Oh,
nice.
shit.
Yeah. So we were like, oh crap, we got to find these like singular small words to try to, hold some value. Like my cousin Ryan, he got crow, he got protein, all of these like, single
Nice.
words that like, as stupid as it sounds, like people want that shit.
You're making money out of this.
Wow.
Yeah. I got some like fringe words. Like one was like a skill, like Dungeoneer. And then I got Bum Bum.
Bum bum.
Have you made money off it?
I haven't sold it. I just keep it for myself. But yeah, if you want to add me, add Bum Bum. And
There you go, guys. Adam, if you play
Has
some
anyone inquired
RuneScape.
to buy it?
I mean, I get compliments all the time, but no offers. But whatever, I don't care.
Nice. Yeah, well, we'll finish off with Bum Bum then. Thanks,
Well,
Alex, for joining.
Yeah, thanks for the tips, Bum Bum.
Yeah, no wuckers, mate.
See you later.
All right. See you guys.
Peace.